Welcome to part two of performance and monitoring. And as you recall, at the end of part one, we had just begun a conversation about the various Windows operating system and SQL Server monitoring utilities and functionalities. And so let's talk about those here. First of all, there's Performance Monitor, Dynamic Management Views or DMVs, DBCC commands, and System Stored Procedures. And there's a lot more, and we're going to touch on a lot of these things as we move through the course. Now, Performance Monitor, first of all, is a graphical real-time monitoring utility that allows you to take a look at virtually every aspect of the Windows operating system and SQL Server. Now, this thing also gives you the ability to capture performance metrics over extended time periods. Now, I'm going to jump out to a virtual machine and let you see an example. Got Performance Monitor running there, and notice this is showing me real-time graphical feedback on the performance of my processor, the percent processor time. If I open a folder here and then start to move that folder around a lot, I'm going to have a hard time actually making this thing busy it up. But notice I did busy up the processor just a little bit. If I open something, you'll see it spike. So this is giving me real-time feedback about how busy my processor is. That's a Windows operating system counter. But notice, as soon as I installed SQL Server on this machine, it automatically added more counters. So I can come down here to my counters, right click, and add a counter. And you can see all of my Windows operating system counters here. But if I start to scroll down in this list, notice you see SQL Server counters start showing up. Agent jobs, brokers, column store, databases, and notice I can start to see things in my databases, the log file, the size it's used, the log growths, those sorts of things. I can scroll back up here and collapse that again. I can see locks. I can get information on locks. And so I can see all sorts of things in real time. And so I can just kind of grab something here for locks, and I can just do lock requests per second, and I can add that in and click OK. And then notice this is going to be in green. I'm not going to see anything here, but I can right click and go to properties, and I can change the color on that particular line, say to dark blue. And then if I could see it here, you can see just a little bit showing up, but I can see exactly what's going on with that in relation to other counters. Lots of power here. That's performance monitoring. This gives me real time. The minute I suspect something's going wrong, I can take a look at performance monitor and see what's happening. Dynamic management views or DMVs are another one. These are views that Microsoft has built because, again, everything that we're doing in SQL Server is maintained or managed in various forms in other places in SQL Server. So Microsoft has gone ahead and pre-built a bunch of views to give us easy access to information relating to database performance, for example, current server state information and that sort of thing, but it's in an easy to use format for us. We don't have to do a lot of complex programming. So notice I'm in SQL Server Management Studio, and at the system database level, if you'll notice, there's a folder called Views. If I expand that and look at System Views, notice there's some information schema views, then there's system views, and then you see these system dynamic management views. And so notice I can use these to see log space usage, and I can see script levels, transactions, those sorts of things, query stats, sessions. So these dynamic management views expose a lot of the internal aspects of SQL Server without us having to go to some sort of major Transact SQL training, and also understanding all the architectural issues of SQL Server and how data is stored up there in the master database and so forth. You'll also see many of these same dynamic management views out there at the individual database level as well. DBCC commands, that stands for Database Consistency Checker commands. These are primarily used to check and monitor database consistency. You will still see these used from time to time, especially dealing with various maintenance tasks. Then there's system stored procedures. These are pre-programmed administrative and informational programming constructs or routines that we can call at will. And again, let me jump back out into the SQL Server Management Studio, and let's go back up here, and notice we'll collapse system views. But if you look at programmability, you'll see stored procedures. Here's system stored procedures, and there's lots of these out here. To add a new login to SQL Server, we can use the system stored procedure add login. We use it to add a linked server, and we can do all kind of cool things here. These are system stored procedures. They're out there and we can start to work with them. If I want to see this thing, I can right click and hit modify. And real quickly here, we'll give it just a moment to open this file up. And you can get an idea of the kind of Transact SQL programming that's going on here. This is database programming that you didn't have to do, but just by calling this system store procedure and providing it with the input that it's expecting, like a table name, table owner, qualifier, column name, those sorts of things, it can do some pretty intense work for you without you ever really having to understand what's going on under the hood. So when it comes to performance and monitoring, you've got a lot to choose from. There's a lot involved, and we're going to talk about a few aspects of this as we move through the course.